After the decline of the Guptas around mid-6th century CE, no single empire immediately replaced them, but several regional powers rose to prominence. 1. Pushyabhuti dynasty, Vardanas of Thanisar. The most notable ruler, Harshavardhana, r. 606, 647 CE. He unified much of northern India after the Guptas, ruling from Thanisar and later Kanauj. Harsha's rule is sometimes seen as a brief revival of imperial unity after the Guptas. 2. Maitrakas of Vallabhi in Gujarat. They emerged during the later years of the Guptas and filled the power vacuum in western India. 3. Maukharis in eastern Uttar Pradesh and Bihar. Initially feudatories of the Guptas, they became independent and powerful after Gupta decline. 4. Later Guptas, a smaller branch that continued to rule parts of eastern India, like Magadha, but they were not as powerful as the original Gupta dynasty. 5. Chalukyas and Pallavas in the Deccan and south. In southern India, Chalukyas of Badami and Pallavas of Kanchipuram rose to prominence, marking the shift of power centers to the south.
Pulakeshin II, the king of the Chalukya dynasty, defeated Harshavardhana. When he seeks to enlarge his empire into the southern peninsula of India, he defeated Harshavardhana on the banks of the Narmada River in 618 AD. The eye-hole inscription was written by Ravi Kirti, court poet of Chalukya king Pulakeshin II, who reigned from 610 to 642 AD. The Chalukya dynasty was established by Pulakeshin I in 543. Pulakeshin I took Vatapi, modern Badami in Bagalkot district of Karnataka, under his control and made it his capital. Pulakeshin I and his descendants are referred to as Chalukyas of Badami. They ruled over an empire that comprised the entire state of Karnataka and most of Andhra Pradesh in the Deccan.
Eye-hole inscription, also known as eye-hole prashasti, is a 19-line Sanskrit inscription in Kannada script at Maguti Jain Temple in Aihole, Karnataka. A eulogy dated 634-635 AD, was composed by the Jain poet Ravikirti in honor of his patron king Pulakeshin II of the Badami Chalukya dynasty. It is a great source for reconstructing the history of this period. It records the achievements of Pulakeshin II, especially his victory against Harshavardhana, the ruler of northern India. Pulakeshin II was a follower of Jainism. Huan visited India during Harshavardhana's period. He was a Chinese Buddhist traveler who belongs to the early Tang times of China. He studied in Nalanda University. The inscription of the Pallavas mention a number of local assemblies. These assemblies functioned through subcommittees which looked after irrigation, agricultural operations, making roads, local temples, etc.
The Nagaram was an organization of merchants. It is likely that these assemblies were controlled by rich and powerful landowners and merchants. There were three types of places during this time. This is the place where peasants lived and were headed by a headman who collected and paid the taxes. Sabha was land granted to Brahmins and was also called the Agrahara villages. The founder of the Pallava dynasty was Simha Vishnu. The Pallava kings were great patrons of art and architecture, and this society was based on Aryan culture. The Pallava kings worshipped Shiva and Vishnu. Their capital was Kanchipuram. Pallava ruler Narasimhavarman I defeated Pulakeshin II of western Chalukyas in Battle of Manimangalam. He captured the capital city of Vatapi and then assumed the title Vatapi Konda. During his reign, Huan visited Kanchipuram. Narasimhavarman II reigned from 695 to 722 AD and built Kailasanatha temple at Kanchipuram and Shore temple at Mamallapuram. Dandin was the court poet of him. He sent embassies to China. Maritime trade flourished.
Harshavardhana ruled from 606 to 647 AD, was in his earlier days a devotee of the god Shiva, attested by the title Parama Mahasvara, or devout worshipper of the god Mahasvara of Shiva, as written in Bankshara and Madhuvan plates. In his later years, Harsha was inclined towards Buddhism. Most Indian rulers were tolerant to various sects and patronized more than one sect also. Two religious conventions organized by Harshavardhana were Kanauj Assembly, which he convened soon after adopting Buddhism. Kanauj was called Kanyakubja at that time. To this occasion, Harsha invited princes and disciples of various sects to assemble in the town of Kanyakubja to investigate the treatise of the Master of Law of China Huan Tsang. It was attended by 20 kings, 1,000 scholars from the Nalanda University, 3,000 Hinayanists and Mahayanists, 3,000 Brahmins and Jains. The assembly went on continuously for 23 days. Hewan Sang explained the values of Mahayana doctrine and established its superiority over others. However, violence broke out, and there were acts of arson. There was also an attempt on the life of Harsha. It was brought under control and the guilty were punished. On the final day of the assembly, Hewan Sang was honored with costly presents.
After the assembly of Kanauj, Harsha invited Hewan Sang to attend another imposing ceremony, which the sovereign held every year at Prayaga, at the confluence of the river Ganga and Yamuna. Harsha celebrated the 6th quinquennial distribution of the alms called the Maha Moksha Prasad at that time. Harsha gave away his enormous wealth as gifts to the members of all religious sects. According to Hewan Sang, Harsha was so lavish that he emptied the treasury and even gave away the clothes and jewels he was wearing. His statement might be one of admiring exaggeration.
Pushyabhuti was the founder of the Vardhana dynasty in his legendary account Harsha-charita. Banabhatta gives an account of the origin of the Vardhan dynasty. Prabhakar Vardhana was the first notable king of the Vardhana dynasty, but he was not the founder. What is Visara style of architecture? According to some art historians, the roots of the Visara style can be traced to the Chalukyas of Badami, who reigned from 500 to 753 AD, that mixed some features of the Nagara and Dravida styles.